Good afternoon. Can you hear me? I'm very happy to be here and to tell you about the Efekt program and to introduce a very, very fresh results here today. Today, here is the very first time that we introduce these results. It's a very unique experience. But now, about the program. In 2012, we started with piloting the Efekt program in 34 schools that promote health. Why did we start with the network schools? Well, the reason is simple. On the one hand, we speak about the human resources, and on the other hand, we had to have these schools on board that would be more motivated for the 3 years to, so to say, walk this way with us. We knew that there is no difference in terms of risk behavior of young people at schools that belong to the network or that don't belong there. But during the 3 years, we met with the parents. It is a universal alcohol prevention program aimed at the parents. We met the parents twice a year during the parental meetings. We chose the meetings because the presumption was that the parents don't very often go to school outside these parental meetings, and this was confirmed as well. We saw that they don't attend the parental meetings either very often. So we met with the parents there, and the aim of our activities was to raise the awareness of parents and to improve their skills. And by doing that, to postpone the initiation age of children that start consuming alcohol, and also to reduce alcohol consumption of young people, and to guarantee that the parents have a condemning attitude towards alcohol consumption. We know that from research that when children are younger, then the parents are condemning, but the older the children become, the less condemning the parents are. So if we aim the program at these parents, then there is hope that this condemning attitude will prevail. This was confirmed to us by the Swedish colleagues as well. It was the Swedish colleagues that we took this program from. Lee already spoke about why is it important to address the parents. The parents are a very important stakeholder in all this prevention work. In 2012, we had no data about Estonia in terms of what is the attitude of the Estonian parents towards the alcohol consumption of youth. However, we had data from other countries, and in other countries, we could see that it is changing over the time. So there were no grounds for thinking that Estonia would be different in any respect. When we look at alcohol consumption in general, then Estonia would rather be a more negative example than a more positive one. Here is a good example from the health behavior study that was already introduced to you by Tia. We also looked at an indicator that has been compiled of 6 questions. So we ask about the alcohol use of parents and how many children aged 4 to 15 grow up in a school, in a home where parents consume alcohol, and we saw that every 4th child grew up in such a home where parents were consuming alcohol. But now let's continue with the introduction of the program. As I said, we met 6 times with the parents over the 3 years, and every meeting had a topic. We always had 3 main messages that we told the parents. Talk to the child, including talk to the child about alcohol. Then express clearly your condemning attitude towards your child's alcohol consumption. We think that it is elementary that the children know what is the parent's attitude. When you want to be clear that your message is understood, you have to state it out loud and clear. And the 3rd message was that do not offer children alcohol. What we also talked about at the meetings. Well, we had a lot of topics over the 3 years. We spoke about the general alcohol consumption, how we can prevent that, what are the different factors at play, what is the parents' role in prevention. We also spoke about the parental upbringing styles, also about the impact of alcohol on the brain and on the development of the brain. Then we had some role plays, how people behave in different situations and so on. So we had many topics, and all of these topics were highlighted in the newsletters that we sent to the parents. We sent 6 newsletters to the parents over the 3 years. So there was rather a lot of information coming in, and there was always this repetitive element as well. Now here is a brief summary of how many parents attended the meetings. There were not many. We see that over the years the figure is going down, and it also differs from autumn to spring. The reason is very simple. The schools very often do not have a parental meeting in spring, and when they do have this meeting and we are the only ones that make a speech there, then it might happen that there might only be 5 parents out of 30 parents that attend this meeting. When we started with the program, then both the teachers and the parents asked us, why is it our school? Why our class? Why the parents? Why are we talking about this topic at all? We don't have a problem. So this was the prevailing message. We do not have a problem. Please go to the area where there's a problem. So the people from towns were sending out us to the countryside and vice versa. But the problems are everywhere. As it is a preventive program, then in general, preventive activities are carried out before the problem arises. By the end of the 3rd year, it seems to me that we managed to get through to them, so they really understood that we are carrying out preventive activities. As I said, the figures dropped last spring. So in May, we had the least number of participants, so we reached the least parents during the whole program, but it only gives us input for developing our activities for the future and doing better in the future. Over the 3 years, we have gathered quite a lot of data. We have had individual interviews with the parents. We have asked the parents for the feedback. We have noted down how many parents attend the parental meetings in each class, and what is the most important thing, we have carried out a survey called the Attitudes and Behavior of Children and Parents in the 5th, 6th and 7th grade, both with the parents and the children, and we hope to publish a report on this survey by the end of this year. Now a little bit about the survey. As I said, it lasted for 3 years, both parents and children. We had 2 groups that we looked at. There were the intervention schools, so these are the schools where the meetings took place, where the parents received the newsletters, and the other is the control schools, where there was no intervention, no newsletters, no meetings. They just filled out a questionnaire 3 times over the 3 years. Why did we do it like that? We wanted to see whether this program had an impact. Do we need anybody that is unaffected by this intervention to see whether the similar changes take place on their own as well, or do they only take place as a result of our activities? And I would like to briefly show you the results that we got. Let's start with the parents. When the parents were asked, what do you think, how old could a child be when he or she tries alcohol for the first time, we see that the age is 15 to 17 years. Depending on the year, the age differs. I would like to highlight that in 2012, when we started, it was very important to have a reference level similar to the intervention schools and to the control schools. In 2014 and 2015, we see that the difference between the two, so the upper line is the intervention schools and the bottom line is the control schools, is considerably more different, so that the parents of the intervention schools say that the children should start consuming alcohol later. We know that the legal age is 18, but let's be realistic. Things take time. It takes time for the norms to change, and it takes time to change behaviors as well. Now I divided these age groups into different ages. I divided the ages into different groups. So the first group is at the age of 14 or earlier. The second group is at the age of 15 to 17, and the last group is at the age of 18 or later. We saw that in 2012, about half of the intervention school parents said that the children should start consuming alcohol at the age of 18 or later, considering that the same percentage in the control schools was 45. We also looked at the condemning or permissive attitude of the parent. What is the condemning attitude? The condemning is the attitude that the child should not consume alcohol, and the permissive is that the child can consume alcohol, including the fact that the parent has already given alcohol to the child. In the 5th grade, we asked the people, do you think that it is normal that the 5th grade pupils consume alcohol? In the 6th grade, we had a respective question. As we see that in 2012, the situation for both types of schools was similar, but in 2014 and 2015, we had a different results. In the intervention schools, it was 84.9, for example, and in the control schools, 68.2. So we see that the intervention schools had parents that were more condemning towards the alcohol consumption of the parents. Then we asked the parents how useful they think this program is, and the upper line refers to the parents that have attended the meetings, and the lower line refers to those that have not attended the meetings. There might also have been parents that received the newsletters and they were still informed about the program. We see that a rather large share of the parents that attended the meetings found that the program was either useful or moderately useful. And out of the parents that did not come to the meetings, we see the percentage is a bit lower, but it's still rather high. So we see that the parents think that our activities are still necessary. When we asked the parents how necessary do you think the preventive activities are in general, so that these activities are aimed at the parents, then we saw that in intervention schools, over 90% of the parents said that it is important, and in control schools, it was about 80%. So, in essence, we see that the parents really appreciate the informative and the preventive activities. Now, when we turn to the pupils, to the children, we see that the results that we have obtained here follow the numbers from the national statistics. We see that about half of the 7th grade pupils have consumed or tried alcohol, and 1/3 have been intoxicated. We see that the percentages are on the increase as well. What could be the reason for that? Well, as I said, it all starts with the parents. First, what kind of norm is spread among the parents? If the norm is that the alcohol can be given to the children so that they could taste, well, we deal with the attitude, and we know that it takes time for the attitude to change, and for it to be transferred to behavior, and for it to be transferred to the behavior of the child, then it all takes time. So the thing that we don't see a change in the behavior of children, this does not mean that things are very bad, but it probably will still take a bit more time. How old are the children when they first try alcohol? Well, here we could see that in intervention schools, the age was higher, which is positive. And when we speak about intoxication, then there was no difference in the statistics. Now the last slides, they are related to where have the children got the alcohol from. We see that 67% of the children say that I have got alcohol from home, so my parents have had me taste the alcohol. So it shows that it is very, very important to work with the parents to change the behavior and the attitudes. We also ask the children whether they think that the weekly consumption of alcohol is dangerous, and 90% said that yes, it is. We asked them whether there is anybody at home or in the kith of kin who consumes alcohol. We saw that every second child had a father that consumes alcohol, and every fifth child had parents that consume alcohol on a weekly basis. So in conclusion, we can say that the alcohol consumption of children can be prevented, but it takes time. For the attitude and for the behavior to change, it takes time. It does not take place overnight. We carried out a qualitative survey in spring, and we saw that we could start with the program earlier. So right now we had 1/3 of the fifth grade pupils that had consumed alcohol. Maybe we could start with the fourth grade, where the share is lower. The role of parents in prevention is incredibly important. We should address this. And as we see that the positive direction is there. So in 2 years' time, in 2016-2017 academic year, we have a plan for a more ambitious project, because then the pilot project would have ended already, and we try to do things much better than we have done so far. Thank you very much. Can you hear me? Thank you, Mariliis, for a very interesting presentation. And they are very noteworthy results, and we have a lot to learn from them. Of course, it shows that the results of children are very much related to what is going on at home and what are the attitudes of parents. As always, there is little time, but still we do have time for a couple of questions from the audience to Mariliis. Does anyone have any? I almost understood why the number of parents reduced over the 3 years, but as for the declining number of schools, did it have anything to do with the fact that the director of the school changed, or what happened? Very good that you pointed it out. A very important factor in preventive work is the class teacher. We see from our experience that if the class teacher changes, then it can have a very big impact on how many parents come to the parental meetings. In general, in many schools, the headmaster said that, yes, we will take up this program. The teacher was not aware of that. We met at the parental meeting for the first time. We exchanged information. And, well, imagine yourself if somebody comes up to you and says, well, you have to start doing this. There is no other choice. So we got negative feedback. And this also explains why the figures are volatile. So sometimes there are more and sometimes less people. So this is to do with that. Thank you. Mariliis from National Institute for Health Development. I wanted to say that, just comment on your presentation, just an encouraging comment. You could also take up, you could refer back to the attitudes of parents, the slide that you had on it. In prevention, we like to talk about it, and Mariliis also stressed it, that in order to see a change in the behavior, it takes time. When you think that from 2012 until 2015 in Estonia, no decisions have been made in alcohol policy in Estonia. We know that the Advertisement Act is the same, the availability of alcohol in the shops is the same. Yes, we have had some social debates as to the harmfulness of alcohol, and well, I would like to say that the attitudes of the grown-ups have been engraved in stone, so to say, for a long time. So to see in 3 years' time a change in attitudes, well, you say that it takes time to reach the age of 18 when we speak about the attitudes. Well, actually, it will only take 2 years if the same pattern continued. So, yes, we cannot expect for the change to take place in a month, but over 2 years or over 3 years, both programs show statistically considerable changes in the attitudes, and these are very specific indicators in our public health that are changing. Thank you, Mariliis. Thank you for this comment. Thank you, Mariliis. Indeed, preventive actions are not something that should require 30 years of waiting. Yes, we can do things quicker. We can do things quicker if we do the right things, and that we also show our funders what are the financial positive impacts on contributing to prevention. Thank you. And let's give her another big hand.